Noontime My Time. Hey, everybody. How you doing? How are you doing, my good people? It's Monday. It's Make Sense Monday. I'm in here with you guys. I want you guys to do a favor for me. Somebody who's already logged in here, let me know if you can hear me. Put a 1 in the comments. I gotta know. Because I got a new toy. Testing it out. You listen to the sounds of Aunt Cornelius. Oh yeah, he keep me right. Keep all the sounds from a podcast going. I got a couple producers who keep me going good. All right. Let me get in these comments and make sure people can hear me. I see Kimberly here in the building. All right. She let me know. Thanks, sis. Loud and clear. All right. We got some West Coast love going on in the building. Happy Juneteenth, good people. I want you to rock out to this beat a little bit. And the reason I want you guys to do that is because you know how music influences our lives. This is us. We're about that beat. With the African drums, some of our traditions. And today I want to talk about parenting in the digital age. We got to talk about this, guys. We got to. While we're celebrating Black family values, we got to talk about this piece of the puzzle. That parenting piece of the puzzle is very, very important. It is, and you know it to be. We got to figure this thing out. It's almost like it's a battle here between our values, between technology and our traditions. I'm going to have a special guest who's going to come in a little bit later and share with me, and we're going to have the conversation. I got Isaac Wilson who's going to be tapping in. And we are going to talk about some of the ways that our core values may be being pushed to the side because of what we got going on with technology. And I don't know that that's what we want to be doing. Technology is supposed to be here to help us to be better. We're supposed to use these things as tools and not just throw away our core values. That's not what we're here to do. Not at all. That's my opinion. But happy Juneteenth. I want to make sure I tell you guys happy Juneteenth. Wherever you are, I hope you had an opportunity to celebrate in our traditional ways. If you don't know what the celebration of Juneteenth is, I feel like you need to ask somebody. Look it up. You guys are so busy looking everything else up online. You can take the time and you can Google that. How about that? Do it. All right? But before we get into the conversation, before Isaac comes in, I want to go ahead and do what we always do when we start out here. It's the Noontime My Time Podcast. We're here weekdays at 12 p.m. and we're here at lunchtime, but we're not calling it lunchtime. It's called noontime, my time, for a reason, because we're reclaiming our time. We're taking a little bit of that back, and we're going to recalibrate. Some of you might be at work. That's why I'm really not so keen on this holiday being a federal holiday. I feel a type of way. I feel a type of way. And everybody doesn't feel like I feel. But I don't think it's right. We've been celebrating this without it being a federal holiday. There's people who have a day off today who are not celebrating it in the essence of what it should be. They don't care about it. They don't care about us. That ain't right. And some of you out here who have never had the opportunity to celebrate Juneteenth, I think this is your opportunity to find out a little bit more about the culture, about your culture, and why we are celebrating it, why it is important. I'm not going to take you through a history lesson here today, but I want it to be a Juneteenth spotlight where we're talking about our family values, where we're celebrating Black family values. And so that's where the conversation is going to go. How you doing, Mary? Mary Fonda Hines here. She says, happy Juneteenth. Thank you. Thank you so much. So before we start talking, before I get too deep and before I forget, I need to do it and you need to do it. We need to do a little bit of breath work. What I want you to do is inhale to the count of 4. And we're going to hold it for a few seconds. And then we're going to exhale. And we'll hold that for a few seconds. And we'll repeat that a few times. Now, you can close your eyes if you're in a place that you can do that. And I want you to do that if you're driving. Don't do that if you're driving. Don't do that if you're actually sitting at the desk. If you got your head pods on and you're taking a listen, we'll vibrate with us and listen. But if you can close your eyes, close your eyes. You want to take it a step further, put your hands over your heart and feel that you are alive. That's you. Let's get into it. Inhale to the count of 4. Hold that a few seconds. Exhale. Hold that a few seconds. Inhale again. Hold that a few seconds. Exhale. One more time. Let's inhale. Hold it a few seconds. And exhale. Yeah. Doesn't that feel great? I know you feel good, or at least you should be feeling good, because you should have been doing the breath work. I hope you did it. I hope you didn't cheat. You got to do this. Today is Make It Make Sense Monday. Make It Make Sense Monday. We are on episode 79. Today's admission today is good sense. That's what it costs to get up in this conversation today. That's what it costs to get up in this house, to get in this building. Some good sense, because common sense seems like it's not even common anymore. It's not. We got to think about how we are raising our kids. What's going on with this? Really, welcome to the channel. Welcome to the podcast. And in honor of Juneteenth, we are going to dive deep into a thought-provoking conversation and discuss the evolving values of parenting in the midst of a technology-driven era. I want you to join in and let's talk about some of the core values within Black families and how we've been able to go through these challenges and opportunities and still be present and still have some of our core family values present in this digital age. This is important, God. I want us to have a really rich conversation. We got to think about our values. We got to know how we can nurture the creativity of our young people and still embrace this technology. We can't leave our values behind because there's power in our community. There's power in our family. We have to nurture that. Let's explore what we're doing as parents. Let us find out how we can be effective. What are some of the things that we can do? And how are you talking to your kids about Juneteenth? Did you talk about the historical significance, the cultural importance of Juneteenth? What that means for us, for our Black family values? You guys let me know how you celebrate it and how you're celebrating the day. What does it mean to you? Think about that. Think about that. What does it mean to you? What did you guys do? I went to I did a couple different things actually, but one of the events that I went to in Mullen, South Carolina, it was exactly what I wanted it to be. Exactly the type of celebration that I look to be a part of. It was put together by Black people. It was for us. It was by us. I walked in there and I saw many of our faces. And I saw a diversity of faces as well. But the idea that they were celebrating within our culture with us. I saw African art, food vendors and business owners and who were Black owned, kids jumping around playing, face painting done by Black owned businesses who own the bouncy houses. That was important. That lady who makes some of the best lemonade, she was there selling her lemonade. The things that are important in our community. There was performers, spoken word, musicians, sharing Juneteenth history facts. So much. It was hosted by Solandia Ham, Sue Ham Baby, for those of you who are in the PD area and aware of who she is. It was awesome. I got an opportunity to share poetry, and I always love sharing a bit of poetry. You know I do. So I got to do that. And it was a great time. It was a great day. Just seeing a lot of smiling faces, people celebrating emancipation of Black people here in these United States. Yeah, guys. So let your young people know. They gotta know. I tell you what I want to do. I want to share a bit of poetry with you because I want to honor this day. I want to do it. Just listen to the beat. Just listen to the beat. Just listen. All right, guys. I want to share this piece of poetry from the Little Black Book of Poetry. I am the author and I am your poet here. Oh yeah, I am your resident poet, which is kind of funny because I'm the host and I'm the resident poet. How did that happen? I think I hired myself. I had the freedom to do that. All right, let's get serious. This poem here is the blackest poem. They ask me who I am. I tell them me. I can tell them my name. Is that what they want to hear? Is there still controversy? Does name define me? Does race define me? My sex defines me, my sexuality, my personality. Which description comes first? Which achievement was my last? Is who I am defined by skill, by what I do, by the wages I make? Is it by the duties, the titles, and art that I create? Is it the poem? Is it the poet, the sister, the mother, the friend? Which shall be first? And is there an end to the descriptions, walking encryptions? Should it be so deep? Should folks be so shallow? Does it really matter? Maybe it does. For the art of conversation, for an exchange of words. But what will they do with them? What will they do with me? What do they want from me? How do they value me? Will they treat me like the me they see when they look in their mirror? They ask me who I am. I could tell them anything. I'm telling them everything but nothing. I wonder where my words will find home. Read between my lines. I'm another healing, broken poem. That's what I'll tell them. Just not in those words. Just not in that order. It's me. I am the Blackest Poem's daughter. And that's that poem. Happy Juneteenth, people. Happy Juneteenth. It's time for us to get into our conversation. Technology and our family values. Now, we know that values vary within our own community because we all have different experiences. We all have different, maybe religious and cultural traditions, and that can differ from different regions. But we do have a core set of values and for our ethnic background. And it's crucial for us to recognize those and celebrate those, even in their diversity, within their richness. The Black family is so important. It's important to our culture, for our heritage. So I asked you guys a question. I asked you how you celebrated Juneteenth and what you were telling your young people about it. And I'll tell you something. If we're going to tell them about us and about our cultures, we got to tell them about our resilience. Black families often emphasize the importance of our strength, perseverance, the fact that we've overcome so much adversity in the face of so many challenges. Because if you think about the very reason why we're celebrating Juneteenth, it is because there was a whole Galveston, Texas, there were people who did not get the message. There were slaves who did not get the message that we free, y'all. Y'all free. They were still being held in the same lifestyle. 2.5 years later, after emancipation was officially signed in 1863. Outrageous. They didn't get the message until over 2 years later. But it's not difficult for us to understand how that could happen. It isn't. That wouldn't be something that I should say would be a great thing for those who held slavery and held on to it for so long. That wasn't going to be a good thing for them. They didn't want that message to get to the people. But it did. Right? And we've been celebrating this as a culture of people. Texas, Galveston, Texas, they have been celebrating this. And we've been celebrating this as a culture of people for so many years. That's why I said I feel a little uncomfortable with it being a federal holiday, because I'm seeing it being something that is just being taken for another day off. People capitalizing on it. I guess they'll just have a few dinners somewhere and call it a Juneteenth celebration. It's about more than that. It really is. We need to talk to our young people. We need to let them know about our resilience. Let them know about our community and kinship, what that meant to us. How important it is to build strong bonds with family and with the extended community. Because the community is the cornerstone of Black family. That's a part of our culture. So it's important for us to emphasize the importance, and it's important for us to support and cooperate with each other in our community and understand what our collective responsibilities are in our community. There used to be a time when we would be able to talk to all of the kids on the neighborhood block. We could say something to them. We could manners them. That's what we call it. We could manners them. And that wasn't a bad thing. If they weren't doing something that was right, somebody who was sitting on that front porch, or somebody in the community who saw a kid not doing something right, they had the right to say something. They had the right to correct that young person. And we've gotten away from that. And the reason why I think technology is playing a huge role in this is because we're not spending family time together like we should. Everybody is on their device. If they're not on a phone or an iPad or some type of tablet, I don't know what else they're doing. That's all I see. And I know you guys have seen this for yourselves as well. Have you gone out to a restaurant and you've seen that family out there and everybody sitting at the table is looking down at their phone? I don't understand that. I don't get it. How could they be a family having dinner and nobody's talking to each other? That's a problem. And if we're not talking to each other, we're not passing on values. We don't know. Everybody's watching and interested in their own thing. And you don't even know what the young people are watching because they have their own phones. A family used to share a phone. Now everybody in the home has their own individual phone. Kids grow up taking the phones out of their parents' hand as fun for them as a toy. You see that? Got a picture here with a kid. I mean, kid got a phone in the hand, not using it yet, not of the age of being able to use it yet, but it's already a thing. You're sitting on your computer, kids on their computer, their iPad, their phone. What are they engaged in? It's the technology versus our traditions. Are we going to let technology win? Now, we've got to use this technology. Don't get me wrong. I'm your techie, non-techie type mom. I use this technology as well. I'm coming to you right now through this technology. There's things that I had to learn to be able to do this. So it's important that we do know how to use it. A lot of people are talking about AI now. A lot of people are in fear of it. But I think that, if we're going to have the conversations, we got to figure out how can it be used to work for us and not be afraid of it. It's already been let out of the box. It has been. And you know that we as a culture of people, there's not anything that we're going to be able to do to put it back in. So as the resilient people that we are, it's important to know that we will survive this. As the innovative people that we are, it's important to know that we can learn to use this, improve this, so that it can help improve our lives. But while we are doing that, it is important to know that we cannot lose the sense of our family. We cannot lose the bonds that we have as a community. We've got to come back and cultivate that. We have to. Things that are important to us within our culture have always been faith and our spirituality. Religion and spirituality play a significant role in many Black families because it provided a foundation for some type of moral guidance. You had to have some type of connection to our ancestors, to those traditions. We found that important. When I was a young person, we had no choice. We had to do what we were told. Until you were old enough to make some decisions, adult decisions, you had to be under that family guidance. And I think we got to talk about that. I think we got to get back to that. I see we got a comment here from Kimberly St. Clair. She said, here's one parent who don't even enforce eye contact. I'm standing tableside and a kid is glaring at an iPad rather than looking and speak directly to me. Where are your manners? Make that make sense. You're right. So the kid is we see these people out at a restaurant. The kids at a restaurant, instead of teaching your young person how to respond to someone who is giving them a service with a kindness, with an attention, who is doing something for you, because this is a person who is about to bring your food, they're not even concerned. They're not engaged. They're so engaged in whatever's going on in this iPad that they can't even look up and speak and place an order, not learning how to do that, not having any manners. And we're allowing our young people to be rude. We're allowing that. That's not it. There has to be a balance between this technology and our traditions. You don't throw that away. We can't throw that away. We're going to come back and we're going to reclaim that the same way that we are reclaiming our time here. I want there to be enough people who are concerned about our values and about our families that they're going to take a little bit back, family by family, community by community. Faith and spirituality was important to us. Education was important to us. I know it was in my family. Was. Most Black families that I knew, we weren't unique in that. Every family on my block had a high emphasis and value for education. Black families prioritized the pursuit of education. They did so much to make sure that kid could further themselves and be better and learn something. The pursuit of knowledge and intellectual growth was a means of empowerment and advancement for us. That's where we felt like we could find some sense of equality, if we can say that. We could level the playing field a bit if we could become educated, get educated, empowered ourselves. Got to get back to that. Why are we allowing technology and little fun things to just rule so much of our day? And it's what you're watching on technology. That makes it, what are our kids watching? What is keeping them on these things like this? And why are you not putting some time restrictions on it? You know what I think it is? I think it's because we're not even putting time restrictions on ourselves. I see we got some comments here. Let's see what you guys are talking about in the chat. How you doing, Mary Fonda Hines? Good to have you here with us this afternoon. She says, not having communication skills affects young people keeping jobs. It does. You're absolutely right. If they're not going to have enough manners and they're not learning communication skills where they can go to a restaurant, look at a menu, and give their order to a service provider, I mean, that's the least of communication you can have. You want something. So how are you communicating that? That's crazy. I see we got to keep the faith with Tori in the building, just getting in here. She said, I'm late today. Went to lunch with a friend. Well, guess what? You are not too late. Today is Juneteenth. I'm happy to hear that you are doing something. You went to lunch with a friend. That's a great thing. We have to celebrate each other. We have to be here with each other and for each other. It's a good thing. I see we got Les Eccles in the building. How you doing, Les? Happy Juneteenth, brother. Happy Father's Day, Les. Happy Father's Day. Hope you had a wonderful day on yesterday. And in fact, let me take the moment to say happy Father's Day to all of the gentlemen out here who are being fathers, fathers to your kids, fathers to kids in the community, your adopted kids, your stepkids, mentees. It's a wonderful thing. So you are appreciated. But Les says, I'm not so much a fan of tradition as I am of education and teaching children to be good people who build and grow and not hurting others. I got you. I can respect that on a lot of levels because not everything needs to be passed down. But there are some key things in terms of tradition that I feel like we can grow from. We don't have to throw it away. We don't have to throw all of that away. Maybe we can improve upon it, allow technology to help us improve upon it, allow our life experiences and our educations to help us improve. But when we think about traditions of being community and having kinship, those are the type of traditions that I want, that we have to keep building those strong bonds within family. Those are some traditions that I feel like we should keep. within your faith and your spirituality might be some traditions that you might want to keep in terms of education and the emphasis that we have on education. We want that. But I certainly agree with you here. I want my kids to be good people. And that is the guidance, and that is the way that I guide them in their lives. It's important to be good people. See, Keep the Faith with Tori said, these kids are rude. Some of them are. Some of them are. But they're that way because they're not being mannered. They're not. And no one can talk to them. That tradition, some of those traditions of having those older people and people in the neighborhood who would be able to say something, they can't say anything anymore. Maybe we need to start we need to have those type of elders in the community who have that freedom to do that. We need to be telling our young people, you need to respect Miss Mary. I see we got Mary Fonda Hines here. She said, manners never go out of style. They do not. They will never go out of style. And we should not be teaching manners. That's something traditional that we definitely got to keep. I see we got Les Eccles here. He says, there is a movement to take emphasis off of education. Guess who that hurts? Black kids. Because we have to be smarter and effective, not just run faster and jump higher. There is no longer a culture of education. Most Black teenagers can't write a check or set a table properly. Exactly. That's what I'm saying. And why would they know how to set a table properly if the family is not eating dinner together? They're not seeing a table being set. I remember setting the table. I remember setting that Sunday table. I remember us wanting to do little different things and what we thought were fancy things with the napkins, being creative. That was a thing. We wanted to set it and make it look nice. Who could set this table and look like we're at a fine dining restaurant? That was a thing. We had to talk to each other because we're sitting there at the table, we're eating, we're in conversation. But we're not seeing that anymore. We're just not seeing it. And let me put Les' comment up here again because this disturbs me a lot. This disturbs me more than Juneteenth being a federal holiday. It does, because I can get over that because I know people own their own thing anyway. But we can't lose focus, and we need to know why it's celebrated, and we need to pass that on to our young people. But Les says here that there's a movement to take emphasis off education. That doesn't set well with me. That doesn't set well with me. But if we're talking about, and the topic of the conversation is parenting in this digital age, we're talking about tech versus traditions. I'm not with this emphasis being taken off education. But if technology does offer anything, we have to agree that the availability to educate yourself can be at the palm of your hand. So it's going to be a matter of how you introduce technology to your young people, how you express to them what the value of having this technology can be for them. It's going to be an important thing because it is. Everything that I do, or most of the things that I do here today, especially within the last 10 years, like I come from a media background, so I come from a very traditional media background, but technology has just continued to change over and over. Things have gotten smaller in terms of cameras and editing and all of those technical type of things. And it continues to evolve. It's always changing. There's always something new to learn. But I say all of that to say this. I wanted to learn it. And I had a tool, a computer, that was able to help me learn that. I was self-motivated to learn it. So there's things that you can learn, and there's ways of educating yourself That doesn't necessarily have to be in a classroom, but you have to have a value for knowledge. You have to have a value for education. You have to want to learn something. You have to want to be better. If you're tired of working on the same level, at a same pay scale, and you want to elevate, you need to educate. And you can use technology to educate yourself. You can become certified in certain things. You can look and learn so much. But I feel like these social platforms, they're just ruining so much. Everything can't just be about fun. I'm not opposed to the fun. I love it. I love it. We got to have fun. We got to laugh. I like to laugh too. I do. But there's a time to laugh and there's a time to be serious. You got to know the difference. I see we got Les here. He says, Tanya Mormon, also keep in mind, every young parent is not us. As my granny would say, some of us are old people children with many traditional values instilled. You're right, man. And I know you're right. I know you're right. I just want us to be able to have some type of influence on these young people or on some of these younger people, because it just looks like they have no value for community, no value for family. And I don't know what's going to happen. And if you're telling me that the emphasis of education is not as important as it used to be, come on, man. That's scary. And whatever happened to pride? Whatever happened to having cultural pride? Remember, like, Black families often place a strong emphasis on preserving and celebrating our culture and our heritage, our language, our music, our art, our history. We were proud. We had a pride. So when I say tech versus tradition, I get it. I'm not saying that all of the traditions were right, but the ones that I'm talking about, we need to hold those. And there are families who are holding those values up, but they're just in smaller numbers than they used to be. They used to be, it was a real big thing. Let me say this. Not only that, but what about, fostering a sense of self-love and your self-identity? It was important. Your family instilled that in you. They encouraged you to have some type of self-worth, to have some sense of positive identity. Because we're hearing how young people are being bullied out here now, and they're facing so many different suicidal situations. And we got to ask ourselves, where is that self-love and that identity component? And I'm going to talk about that a lot more when my guest comes in and we get in here and have a conversation. I'm going to have Isaac Wilson come in and talk a little bit with me this afternoon in respect to this topic. And I got to let you guys know that Isaac is more than just a Democratic strategist. He's actually the founder and executive producer of the Isaac Wilson Project. I think he's a very important person to have this conversation with, because he does a whole lot in the community in terms of empowering communities and schools and other civic organizations to help fight and prevent bullying and suicide. That's important. So as soon as he gets himself in here and I'll get him on screen, we don't do y'all don't get to see our faces that much. We share the talk bubbles. But I'm going to bring Isaac in. I don't know where Isaac at. I'm looking at him back here. He looked like he outside. Let me bring him in. What's up, Isaac?
Hey, what's going on?
Everything good, man. I see you exposing yourself today. You're not behind the talk bubble.
Yeah, I'm not behind the talk bubble. Listen, today has been crazy. So we're here. I want people to see my face for this because it's a
Okay.
very serious thing that we need to understand with this topic. So sorry for my lateness, but I guess you can catch me up to where we are.
Well, man, I'm gonna just tell you. I'm gonna tell you like I told Tori. There is no lateness. We're talking about new age parenting. You know,
Right.
we're trying to
Hmm.
make this thing make sense. We're talking about the battle between technology and tradition. How is this whole digital age affecting our parenting? What values are we sharing with young people if we're so involved in the technology? What are the young people learning?
Uh, I think they are learning where the world wants them to go in terms of money and economic sense. But when we talk about moral ethics and values and things, I think we've gone away from that. My often I say to people, don't give your child everything you didn't have, that you forget to give them the thing that you did have. And so when those street lights came on, you knew to be at your on that porch and going in the house. Um, you knew that your mama didn't play. You knew that when you came home from school, you had to get out of your school shoes and put on your play shoes and go outside, and your play clothes and go outside, because you knew that mom didn't have that money like that in order to do that, and you didn't care about who else had what. You knew your mama didn't play that. And so I think now we've allowed our kids to go and just do whatever because society says it's okay. But in that, I think our parents were teaching us responsibility. We're teaching us that money don't grow on trees, teaching us that we don't have to be of the world.
Right.
And so it's a lot of things I see. Like I shared with you about a 15-year-old girl parent is recording her getting a belly button pierced. I don't know about anybody else, but my sister wasn't getting a belly button pierced at 15. I don't care what the world says that was okay. My sister wasn't allowing it. But then you're putting it on social media now. Or when you ask
Whoa,
someone
whoa,
where is
whoa. I'm sorry. Hold on. I don't mean to cut you off. I don't mean to cut you off. Did you say that the parent was
filming
recording?
filming the daughter getting a belly button ring on Snapchat.
Wow.
Why that's necessary, I don't know. My 15-year-old daughter, I don't want none of her pieces out there like that, and I don't want her having a belly button ring because who's she showing it for? Because you're 15. So what kind of clothes are you wearing that would even expose your belly at 15?
Good question, man. Good question. I'm
So
shocked because I don't understand that. I would think, and you're saying that this is the mother who is doing that. So the young people are looking at the culture of what their parents are doing online,
mm-hmm.
and I guess they're following in suit. So if mom is filming me doing this, I
It's
can only
okay.
imagine where this young lady is going to go. I think these are some of the ones who end up with only fan pages because there are no rules. They're not, they're not
Right,
shy about exposing their bodies.
right. Or you don't know where little JJ is at 14. It's 9 o'clock at night. I'm asking you, hey, where JJ at? Well, I don't know. I think he at his friend's house. Well, huh? That doesn't make pretty good sense to me because my mom knew where I was at 14. And it probably wasn't at nobody's house. We probably were home already eating and already just probably looking at wrestling or something. Um,
Wow.
but Tanya, I don't blame all of the kids for this or to even blame their parents. I blame what they have to go through. It's so many avenues that these kids have when it comes to, even history in school. The school wanted you to learn this. Now they're saying that we're not going to teach that, but your parents are saying now we're black this and we're black that, and you should be learning this. So now you're going to school confused because do you go back at the teacher and say, well, this is my culture, whatever case it be. Somebody's telling you how to be this way, somebody's telling you how to be that way, somebody's telling you should do. It's a lot that these kids are battling, and we as a community, as a culture, have to get on one page about what we're going to do because
Yes,
we can't
sir.
keep doing all these other things because these kids are getting confused.
You're right. You're right. Because when we think about as we celebrate Juneteenth and we're celebrating uh freedom, and I'm doing air quotes here, we have to think about what freedom actually means to us. Like, do we even have an individual idea of what we think freedom is? And I like what you just said. It is what we're going to have to come together as a people and agree and decide like what that should look like for us. You know, I want to go to some comments here with what you're saying. Les Eccles says things from commercials to the beats and lyrics in some music is fixated to allure Black kids and desensitize them to the value of life and reality. We have to expose them to positive music and images.
Correct.
Yeah, I agree. Listen, man, you know, I was telling my son the other day, we were driving by the skating ring and it happened to be a lot of cars in the parking lot. And I was like, wow, so the skating ring is making a little comeback. I said, that was a big thing for us. That's where we could go as young people. Our parents could drop us off there. They knew we were safe because we were in there. The idea of skating, we were listening to good music. And then I also told him, like, we were listening to love songs. You know, when serious, we listened to R&B. R&B was a thing. It wasn't as explicit in terms of its vulgarity that it is now. It was very metaphoric and suggestion, and we didn't even know what that meant. You know what I mean? So I think definitely Les has a point here. But so many of the things that we're going away from, what are some things you feel like we need to get back to as well?
I mean, defining what respect is, defining what that village looks like. I mean, you just have kids that are the amount of kids that are fighting teachers and just disrespecting teachers these days. Like, where in the world did that come from? So having that respect and that value that you look good going to church, right? Your mama, your grandma got you up to look good going to church. Now,
Right.
where do we get going wearing jeans and wearing, I ain't saying you got to wear a three-piece suit to church, but you should look good because you're going
Right.
to reverence God. We don't talk about that no more, right? So I think
Right.
it's the value of life and how we just, you know, put a cap over it. Everybody's talking about, oh, I don't believe in God. I believe in the universe. Well, I don't care what universe you go to. God is the leader of it in my life. And that's what I'm going to pray to, God that I know that died on the cross for me. So this whole universe stuff. So it's just so many different things that we got to start getting back to that value and getting that sense of responsibility for our own lives.
Right.
And stop letting social media, entertainment, and other people raise our child. And what you find to be popular, it's okay for what you find to be popular in your life. You don't have to go with the masses of people because they think it is, and that's not going to make you less of a person, less of a student because you don't want to do what they do. And parents have to uphold that because you have some parents that are pushing their children. Yeah, go on and hit the blunt. Go on and hit the cigarette. 15-year-old rolling up in their house. You put it on social media. You know your son smoked, but you ain't doing nothing about it. As long as you don't smoke him. No, those are conversations you should have. Your son is
Right.
15. Your
Like
daughter should wear lace fronts.
when did they become so emboldened about doing that? That if they were going to do that, that was going to have to be something that they had to hide and sneak and do. That wasn't something that you could boldly do, and especially not in the house. You weren't even going to be able to have it in the house
Right.
because mama's going to be in your room. She might be in your stuff. You don't even have anywhere to hide it or keep it.
There you
You
go.
know,
And
family she was in there. She knew what was going on in your life. And I like the piece you said about the lacks of the way people dress when they go to church. And that can be I don't know, people can think about it however they want to think about it, but I do like the point that you made because we did have a sense of pride in how we look. People really do take you differently. When they look at you, how you present yourself is a thing. And like I say, I hate to keep talking about my kids per se, but I am a parent and I come from some older type values because some of them I just feel like we got to keep. But I was talking to my son as he left to go to his summer internship this morning, and I was like, he was packing up last night. I was like, son, make sure you got more than a few collars. You pack more than a few collared shirts. He said, well, Mom, I got this. He said, I've done this before. I said, I understand, but I said, allow me to be a mother. I said, allow me to do my job. I said, I want to say this to you. I said, I want to say this to you because I think it's important. I said, I want you to understand that, yes, you look neat. I know you may work in an environment where it could be lax and you could wear T-shirts and jeans. I said, and that's cool. I said, but why not be above or be a little bit better? Why not feel yourself and look a little bit better? It's
Mm-hmm.
nothing wrong with wearing a collar. It's nothing wrong with being a little bit neater. It's nothing wrong with standing out from the crowd.
Mm-hmm.
Because you never know who's looking at you. And I'm
Mm-hmm.
not saying it just for someone to look at you, but do you know how you feel? You react and do things differently when you're dressed nice. You're not trying to get in any uproar or any trouble when you out here looking good. You got on your fresh clothes, your nice
Right.
shoes, you know?
Right. You're about to mess up my all those or my
Right.
fees. So you about to do that. Yeah.
Right. And so, and we got to be realistic about that. People do look at you differently based on how you present yourself.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know why we're not teaching that. That's something that we got to get back to. That pride, that self-love, that identity. We had that. When we talk about our cultural pride, it's not just about, that fist in the air. No, we're talking about the way we look, our language, the way we carried ourselves, our self-worth, how we even encouraged each other when we see each other looking good. It could be a contest. You want to look better. You knew your friend was going to be suited up. You wanted to be suited up too. I don't
Yeah.
know, man. I'm old school.
It's a lot of different things that are small in nature, but they make a big impact. Um, I'm 35 years old, and I don't curse in front of my grandma. It's just something that is just. I mean, a word may slip here or there, but I'm trying very hard not to be saying this stuff in front of my grandma. I'm seeing kids that are 16, 15, that are cursing in front of their grandparents, that are
Wow.
cursing in front of their parents, and they're saying it is okay because of the lifestyle that their child has. Their child is in the street bringing home the selling the weed or doing whatever. So the child is the man of the house, and whatever the child is saying we need to do, that's what we're gonna do. And he's 16.
Whew.
So that child can't go to school and allow a teacher to be over him and be superior when I'm superior at home.
Wow.
That can't.
Wow.
So that's why we're having so much turmoil, because these kids, and if it's even younger, if I'm 11 and I'm getting my 5-year-old sister ready for school and getting her dressed, brushing her teeth, feeding her breakfast, and I'm going to school, it's gonna be hard for that teacher to tell me what to do because I just got finished being an adult.
Yeah. Oh, wow. You're right, man. But
You
see
know?
that respect for elders piece. Now that is, or you're telling me it doesn't exist anymore, which is obvious. There's some crazy stuff going on in our community, but let me tell you something. We could not get away with that. Respect for elders was definitely a big part of Black family culture. We had a high value on respecting and honoring elders. We recognized their wisdom, their experience. We listened to them. We listened to their conversations. People would often know when you were around your grandma, your grandpa, because you were using some of that language. But guess what? You've got some of that old school wisdom. You got some of those values. You knew how to do things. And I think those are things we need to get back into. We need to be in the kitchen when grandma's making those biscuits.
Mm-hmm.
You know
Mm-hmm.
what I'm saying? We need to be in there when she's baking that cake. We need to be getting some of those recipes,
Mm-hmm.
because all of that is, you can go somewhere with that. That is an education. You know, you can have because there's a whole lot of educated people out here who don't know how to cook.
Don't
So
know.
if you got that skill and you can sell some cakes or you can make some biscuits and you can have a restaurant, that's entrepreneurship. But you got to
Mm-hmm.
have the skill first.
Mm-hmm.
So
Mm-hmm.
man,
And
make me
everything's
feel
out
better.
for and everything's out for money. They're teaching the kids that if it ain't about a dollar, everything ain't about money. Not everything I do for communities or do for these children is about money. And most times, like we talked about, the people that are doing like work that is meaningful, they don't make a lot of money.
Mm-mm.
make a lot of money, but they're still changing the tide of communities. And so I think when we're teaching our kids to let everything be about $1, they're no longer worried about Sunday dinner at grandma's house anymore.
Right.
They're no longer worried about if grandma passes or whatever the case may be. Who house we gonna go to now to make
Wow.
this continue to happen? Because there is no value placed in
Right.
that anymore. The value is placed in what is the biggest name restaurant we're gonna go to eat. Oh, I went to Longhorns out to church today.
Wow.
Nobody's talking about family.
Nobody's holding that tradition of having family value. Nobody's learning how to make those collard greens and make that
Oh,
cornbread from scratch, that
somebody,
Hoppin' John, somebody got to learn those recipes. Somebody has to
somebody got
be
to.
the next one up, and you kind of watch it transition from grandma getting older, and then you realize, hey, his mama making that stuff now. And then you realize
Mhm,
mama getting older, it might be one of the aunties, and then you find yourself, you
mhm.
learning how to make it. And you know what? And we need to focus on this too. That can be male or female in the
Male or female,
kitchen,
yes. Yep, male or
because
female.
we've got the fathers in the kitchen too, and we love that.
Mm,
You had just as good of a Sunday dinner if daddy was making, or if mama was making it. You was just getting a different dish because everybody got their own thing.
mhm.
They used to call it they got their own taste, in the hand. They got their own taste. So, but let me
Yeah.
take it just a little bit back to like empowering ourselves in the community and activism, where you were talking about the people who do everything. Obviously, it's not for money.
Mhm,
And most of the things that we do in terms of community type of involvement, it's not about that.
mhm.
But that was something that was important. We always had that piece. We always knew grandma was a part of the missionary, a part of collecting money for the sick and the shut in.
Mhm.
We always had that empowerment and activism piece in our culture. Black families always had a sense of social consciousness. We were encouraging each other to do things together. We were fighting for justice. We were trying to uplift and be contributors to our community. Like that meant something, you know?
Yeah. It means nothing now. Um, and it hurts me dearly to see it, that I was able to grasp it. I know everybody's not going to grasp it in the same context that I do, but I come from the bottom of West Florence, and so I want to do everything in my power for the next generation behind me, my nieces, nephews, all of them, for them not to have the life that I live. So I think the generation before us has given us a bad deed to a house. And our generation was supposed to come in and make those repairs to that house so that my nieces and nephews would have a house to stand on with all repairs and good deed in hand. But we're still fixing the house, and nobody cares that the windows will bust out, that there's no doors, that there's no hinges. We're just in this house that we've
Ooh,
been given us, and so we have to keep building that house. And so when you don't have help to build that house, it's going to take longer and longer and longer for us to get there. So now I'm handing my niece and nephew them still a deed that ain't good, and so we're going to keep on until that house is going to be down to the ground with nothing. But we got to keep building this house. This house has to get built. Yeah, it was given to us. The bad deed was given to us. It was. But we're taking the responsibility of the family house, which is the culture. And so we have to deal with that. And that has nothing to do with white people. That has nothing to do with institutionalized stuff or all that. Yeah, some of that is there. But we build our own house. We stand on our own house. These are things that we can do because we are the owners of our culture, and we're
I
not
agree.
doing
I agree. I agree with you 1,000%. And I feel like, you know, what we're doing here right now, like having conversation, that's a part of our culture. Oral tradition, storytelling, passing down wisdom from generation to generation. That's important. um, because there's knowledge there, ancestral knowledge and ancestral heritage. We've
it.
got to share that. That's why, you know, I don't blame anything on anyone else.
Mhm.
I feel like we have to, be responsible, but I'm not in denial of what has happened. That's why I feel
Right.
like Juneteenth, to me, I never felt it was a good idea to be a federal holiday. And I don't mind people disagreeing with me, because of course there will be people who don't agree. But I
Mhm.
can't see anything necessarily good coming out of it. And so very quickly we have already start seeing it just being another cash cow. And that's, that's hurtful.
Mm-hmm.
So to me, I know that it is our responsibility to continue to celebrate in the ways that we have been celebrating, because we didn't need this. This is another thing we didn't need. I just feel like there was so much that could be done, and making this a federal holiday, like, for what? How can you say that? How are you explaining to young people who are not of our culture, that Juneteenth is a holiday? Okay, well, why? Okay, it is the emancipation of Black people. They're celebrating freedom. Freedom from what? Slavery. Okay, you're not teaching it in the schools. You're taking it out of the history books. You don't want them to be educated on it. So why are we having a day off? What is the celebration? It's hypocrisy.
It is. It is. It really is. And I hate when people say Happy Juneteenth. I mean, I wouldn't go around and say Happy
I
End of
got you.
Holocaust.
You know what?
I wouldn't say Happy End of Holocaust. So I mean, it was the same thing. If you ask me, it took them 237 years of of this country being there, and it was 4 years of Holocaust. But don't tell
Right.
me Happy Juneteenth. So I'm happy that people lied. I'm happy that
No,
they kept my people captive.
I got you. But for me, because I said it and I use it, and
Right.
you brought to my awareness to kind of make me think about like what that means or what that could sound like, because I do hear your point of view. But for me, when I am saying Happy Juneteenth, I'm saying, like, I'm happy that that this part is over, that we are emancipated. I'm happy for this particular freedom, that
Yeah.
enslavement is over. So I am happy for that,
Right.
So to me, that is what I mean when I tell someone Happy Juneteenth. And I hope that they understand. And if they know about Juneteenth, then I think they might understand
Right.
what exactly I'm trying to say.
Yeah.
I see we got a message here from Kimberly St. Clair. She said, good example of technology versus tradition. You can look up any recipe online, but value comes from learning it from your mom, making it the way your dad did, grandma's secrets. There's pride in that.
Yes.
Absolutely. I see we got Carolina Raw. We got Malik in the building with us. How you doing, man? Happy Father's Day. Hope you had a very good Father's Day. I know another good brother out there who's a good father, so I'm going to give you your love. All right? All right. Malik says, I don't see it as a holiday. I see it as a reminder that there are people who don't tell us what we need to know, so we must continue to educate ourselves.
Mm-hmm.
I agree with that.
And that's what we need to do on Juneteenth, telling them about the values, having those conversations about how do we get here? Where do we go from here? And why is this day relevant? What are we doing? Are we supporting Black businesses today? Are we going to do a blackout on Juneteenth? Like, we have to constantly keep educating ourselves on these issues and these things. And these are the conversations that we have on days like this. We have those conversations, and we put our plans. If they're year-to-year plans,
right.
This is what we need to be doing.
I like that.
Yeah.
I like that, because that's the only way. We're a culture of people who, and I don't know how corny this can sound to anyone, but I know this to be truth. We are a loving people.
We are.
We just are. We have love. We have compassion. We want unity to our own default, But our unity, I feel like, is what we should be concentrating on. A unity as a form of foundation for our Black family culture. We got to take this thing back. And we've got to emphasize how important it is to have strong family bonds. And we've got to have that unconditional support. We got to, and by unconditional, I don't mean we're not supporting nonsense. I mean young people, when we see they're striving to do something good. When we know that we got some good kids who are out here trying, they're going to fail at some things. Yes, that's a part of life. But it's important for us to be there, because they have to learn and understand that resilience component. They got to know how important it is, and know that we are a people of preservation. We overcome things. We overcome adversity. So it's okay to have challenges. And you're right. If we have conversations like what we're having right now today, that is a positive step. We need to have it.
Yeah. But this conversation also needs to be, I wouldn't mind if this next year, just having, it ain't got to wait. And that's the thing, we don't have to wait to Juneteenth to do this.
Right.
Even going to a school and having these conversations with those juniors and seniors, getting in their minds, because some of them may have never heard this stuff. They don't make the correlation or whatnot. So we have to go in and make these conversations happen with our students and get them to see the bigger picture, that it's just not about them, but it's about the people that are coming behind them. It's about that brother down the street who can't even talk. He can't even walk. What is the life going to look? What are you doing to advance his life and what he's able to do in the next 5 or 6 years as he's living without being able to talk or what it case should be? As a culture, what are we going to do with that?
Right.
Or whatnot. So we just need to talk about that. Talk about things like that with them.
I agree with you, man. I agree with you. And I think it was a very good conversation. I think it's a conversation that can continue. And we don't have to just talk about this today. And I often tell people this, people who are listening right now, you're listening to a podcast. Take this conversation off of here. Take this conversation to your dinner table. Have this conversation with your friends. Have this among each other. You know, that's what I want. And that's how I feel like I can make a small contribution if I can spark a conversation, because conversations matter. They do. I tell you what, Isaac, I do want to, I know that you've got a lot going on here today, so I'm going to let you out of here. And we have reached an hour, but I want to share with people, and I told them a little bit before you came on, that some of the things that you do in a community, that you're a man behind your word. I see what you're doing around here, and I got to give you your props. What you do with young people as it relates to bully prevention, suicide prevention with young people, the Isaac Wilson Project. Do you mind just sharing a little bit of that before you leave us here today?
Okay. Well, definitely we are a bullying and suicide prevention company. We try to solve the problem before it hits. We are losing kids to this epidemic of bullying. So we're trying to develop in the mind so they don't even go down that road. And so oftentimes we worry about the person being bullied, but we don't worry about the person that is doing the bullying. So we kind of put that up under youth development. And if we can have better children, we can have better communities, better schools, and they can in turn have better lives. So we have to invest our time, and all the actors involved, the parent, the school, community leaders, everybody must play their part and for that child to be successful. And so we've got to get back to a people that is saying, that's not Miss Evelina's daughter, that's my daughter. You know, we've got to get back to that, to say, I ain't got to put my hands on her, but I see you, and I'm going off here to tell Miss Evelina that you're doing this.
Absolutely.
Or, hey, you need to get in the car, you need to come on because I'm taking you to your mom. We can still do things like that. We may have to do it differently, but we can still do things like that. So that's what my organization is saying. Have this development in our youth, have this development in our communities, that we can be a stronger people as we forge ahead to these new experiences and new lives.
All right, man. I appreciate what you do, and I want to let people know, you didn't say this, but I want to let them know that you happen to be in the fourth quarter of your fundraising, and I want to support your organization, and I want people out here who have an opportunity to kind of put some investment into our young people, into what we're talking about here. So take some time to donate. The Isaac Wilson Project, you can go and you can look him up online, but you can Cash App to IW Project. It's important, guys. It's important. We've got to invest in ourselves. We've got to show that we care. And guess what? Just like we talked about, people who do these type of things, it's not for money. This is not money to put in Isaac's pocket. This is to help our young people. All right.
And I'll tell you this: the money goes to, if you look at my social media, we have a youth symposium every year. We provide breakfast from 10 to 2 or 11 to 2. We provide breakfast and lunch, snacks, games. We teach about financial literacy, bullying, suicide, mental health, what you're doing after college. Everybody doesn't get a second chance. We have a click on that. So we're pouring this money all into our kids, and it's totally free, and you don't have to stay. So when you hear about the youth symposium, come bring and have some fun, let loose, and they tell us things.
Right.
They tell us things, so we're able to save lives through that as well.
All right, man. I always appreciate you talking to me, and I'm gonna go ahead and wrap this thing on up. You have a good day, man. All right, y'all. Y'all heard it. We had the conversation. And we got to continue to have this conversation. You got to take this conversation beyond this podcast. You have to. We've got to build better. We've got to be better. I got a comment here from Malik. He said, accountability has to be our incentive. I would love to build with you guys on some organizations we need to form. I've been coming up with them. Absolutely, man. I agree with you. I agree with you so much with that. And we need each other. We got to be here for each other because we got to be here for these young people, right? I see that Malik also has a comment. He says, we have to prioritize us, family overall. And family has to go back to being the village. Once we lost that, we lost our youth connection to our elders. And that's been coming up so much. Everybody agrees with that. We know that to be true. We know that to be true. So let's not let the negative sides of this digital era make you have a negative contribution to society. No, we are a culture of people who have value. Use this technology. Do not let the technology use you. I love talking to you guys, but you know what we got to do? It's time to get out of here. But before we do, there's something that I got to do, something that we got to do. We got to do a little breath work. Yes, we do. We breathe in when we come into this conversation and we do a little breathing out. I want you to go back and enjoy your day, and I want you to be at a peace of mind, to have a little bit of knowledge that you may not have had, or to think about something that, you know, you probably needed to put a little bit of emphasis on, and now you can take that conversation and say, hey, I need to get this done. Talk to your neighbor. We need to get this done. We need to be better. We need to build better. Not for us, but for the future. All right, y'all? Let's do some breath work. Let's do some breath work. Inhale to the count of 4. Hold that a few seconds. Exhale. Hold that a few seconds. Inhale again. Hold a few seconds. Exhale. And hold that a few seconds. Inhale one more time. Hold a few seconds. And exhale. Yeah. And don't you feel great? I feel great. I appreciate you guys. And if nobody gave you a smile today, if nobody smiled today, you just close your eyes and give yourself a big smile and see how that feels for you. Right? Y'all be great out here. It's what we do. One love, y'all.